So thank you for joining us today. We'll be taking a deep dive into Adoddle's exciting new features and updates from our 20.8 release. Just to introduce myself, my name's Lola and I'm the Senior Communications and Content Executive at ASITE, and I'll be hosting today's call. Joining me today is Sharline Walton, one of ASITE's platform training experts, and Arushan Mahendrakumar, ASITE's digital engineering consultant. I'll hand the call over to Sharline shortly, who will talk you through the release. But while you get comfortable, just a few housekeeping items. First of all, the webinar should take no longer than an hour, start to finish. We'll have a Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions over the course of the demo, please type them into the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen. However, if you have any chat questions not related to the webinar or regarding your Adoddle workplace, please contact your account manager. Finally, the webinar will be recorded and available for viewing afterwards, so if you miss anything, you can listen back later. So I'll now pass it on to Sharline, who'll talk you through the new features.
That's awesome. Thank you very, very much, Lola. Brilliant. I would just make sure just to give everyone a last couple of minutes just to get connected. Fabulous. Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all having a great Thursday morning. It's fantastic to have you all here. As Lola mentioned, on the right-hand side, you will have a chat panel where you're able to ask any questions. So throughout the session, questions will arise and everyone at this point is muted. So which means if you have any questions, just raise your hand or ask the questions and then we'll address them towards the end of the session. We have a dedicated Q&A section, which is at the end. So the last 15 minutes of the webinar will be dedicated to any Q&A. So please, please don't hesitate to ask any questions at all. Perfect. So we're looking at the Adoddle 20.8 release. So as Lola mentioned, we have Sharline. Brilliant. Let us make sure that we can see my screen, guys. That usually helps, doesn't it? Awesome. Okay. So in front of you, you should be able to notice you've got a Meet the Speakers presentation on there, which myself, Sharline, on the left-hand side, Arushan in the middle, and we have Lola, who you've just met. Perfect. So the agenda that we have scheduled in for today will be the projects area, dashboards and filters, AppBuilder usability and design, visual workflows, and Adoddle Field. The agenda highlights the different enhancements that we shall cover section by section. So the first section we're going to look at, the first enhancement, will be the project area. Okay, ASITE has always benefited you as a user or project owner with the ability to export data from your files areas or forms areas by selecting the export button. So if I show you what we currently have, we have the navigate over to the files area. We have all our files showing up on the right-hand side. If we filter this information, so for example, any files that were uploaded today. So if I just go in and filter that information, and I'm just going to select that it was uploaded within the last 60 minutes, for example, I can update this, which then allows me, there's 11 files in here, right-hand side of the screen, I can export this information. So when I export this information, I can either export to the current fields or all the fields, which are all the columns or just the columns that you can see. That's fantastic. So that's a feature that we currently have already. In our 20.8 release, we have improved the sort order when you're exporting your data, which is your user roles and access. So if we navigate over to our projects area, in our projects area, we'll go over to our user roles and settings, user roles and access. These are all the roles that we have, and these are all the permissions that we have set up. If I wanted to export this information, I can simply hit the export button. You'll notice on the right-hand side, bottom left-hand side, the manage user roles has been exported into Excel. So if we click and we go into our export, Just as you can see, this has been sorted alphabetically, highlighting the user groups, organizations, and also highlighting the users that are in that particular role. As we go across, it shows you all the permissions that those particular users in those roles have. So for example, anything that will have yes, obviously understandable, that's the permission that they have. Anything that they have no, they don't have that permission, which for you guys as a project owner or user, you can actually get this data, and this is stuff that you can go into meetings with. Perfect. Another enhancement that has been released within our 20.8 is having the ability to batch create private comments for multiple files. So what does that look like for you as a user? Let's go back over, and I'm just going to hit the, bear with me, let's move my little toolbar across. Perfect. Let's move that across a little bit over the way. Go to our files area. So within our files area, let's say, for example, I've got the first 3 files. I knew that there was a particular message that I wanted to put in or create a discussion or comment, right-click new, start a discussion. I can input the person that this might be getting sent to. So for example, the document controllers. I can input the title. So for example, this could be a work area. Ooh, helps if I spell my words rightly today. Put in the description, and then at the bottom here, you have the option to mark this as private, which means every single comment will be sent to those 3 particular documents, and those discussions will be marked as private. So simple, and then mark that as private. Brilliant. So that is the projects areas, enhancement areas that we've covered. So let's have a look at the next part of the enhancements that we're going to look at, which will be the dashboards and filters area. Perfect. So the next enhancement is the dashboards and filters. Insight has now introduced additional sharing capabilities. This now allows you as a user or project administrator to share any dashboard or dashboards that have been assigned to you and filters to distribution groups. So what does this look like for you as a user? Let's navigate over to our dashboard. Top right-hand corner, we have the ability to switch between the different dashboards. If I go over to the tools area, I can create my dashboard as standard. I can go into manage dashboards. So I have a dashboard here, which I've named company dashboard, which is something that as users will use if you wanted to have a company-wide dashboard that everyone uses. So then you simply click on edit dashboard. One of the options that you will have will be the ability to put a description if you wanted to, and then you can share this as standard. You're able to share it to users and projects, but if you look at the bottom here, you have the ability to share this to distribution groups. So if a real life example, if there was a particular dashboard that a particular distribution group or document controllers or reviewers used, you can create that and you can share it just to those users. Okay. And in the same context, as I've mentioned in our 20-point release, is the ability to share filters to particular distribution groups. So we'll navigate over to our files area. Our files area, just underneath, we'll just go in and select a filter. So I'm just going to select this one here, which is our 0014 approval. If I want to share this to a distribution group, simply select my drop down, select the edit button, my filter name appears, and then I can go in and share. So when I share it, as before, share it to users, I can share it to projects, and my distribution groups appear underneath. So this is stuff that's going to make your life ease of use for your day-to-day running of your workload. That concludes the updates we have within our dashboards and filters, essentially simplifying the way you work and how your teams work. So let's have a look at what the next enhancement, which was released in our 20.8 was. AppBuilder design and usability. The next enhancement we're going to look at is the AppBuilder design and usability. AppBuilder designing has been improved with the focus on essentially making the usability and design much easier for you to use. So let's navigate over to our AppBuilder form. Just to remind you, while I'm going across to the AppBuilder, an AppBuilder accreditation is completely available to any user. And if you want to have more information about that, please don't hesitate to ask us into the question in the chat panel, and we can answer that in our Q&A section. So we'll go over to our project settings. Bottom right corner, edit app settings. Now you'll see I have a range of forms in here, but I'm just going to navigate to the one at the bottom, which is inspection checklist. So if I select the edit button, and then I'm just going to select the option here to edit. The formality we're going through right now, we do teach you during our training course as well. So this is what our form looks like. As shown on the screen, we have now introduced just over here an ability to change your RGB, your hex codes, or your HSL color codes when formatting your HTML forms. So, for example, I'm just going to go in, click on the drop down, and I'm just going to go in and select some A-site brand colors. So, the R range would be 18 in this instance. The next one is 111. And then the next one, you can see as we're doing this, the color is changing to suit that. So we go over to 180, and I'm just going to hit apply. That is A-site's brand guideline colors. And so what does this mean for you as a user? So a true benefit of this is that as a project owner or user is having the ability to personalize in accordance to your brand guidelines. And this can be uniformed across your forms. This is one of the many items that we train you as part of our AppBuilder accreditation, so you can build your own internal forms within A-site. Another improvement that we've in our 20-point update is the App Designer has the ability to design apps and pull in the statuses and based on user selection within the app. So what does this mean? This helps you by eliminating the multi-step process of having to submit an app and then normally changing the status. So, for example, an RFI would go through, you have to close the RFI, so you have to come out of the form itself, go right-click, edit, or in the form, change the status to closed, okay? And then your closed due date comes up as part of that. However, we can build that into your HTML forms. So for example, I'm just going to navigate over to the left-hand side. If I go in and I select a layout, I'm just going to drop that underneath here. Perfect, just underneath my checklist. You can see it's produced two little boxes across. So the first one is the ability to change the status of a form when you're inside the form, okay? So select that, push in my drop down, and I'm just going to push that into this box here. As you can see, once I've selected that, the right-hand side pops up. I can label this information. So I could say on here and call it status. Ooh, helps if I spell correctly. And I'm just going to put that as a capital there. Okay, so there you can see, as I've renamed it, the label and the status has appeared. As we go down, we have the ability to source data. So at the moment it's under static. If I select system data and then I select this option, you can see the data source then gives me an option for app statuses. And these are the app statuses you would already have in your form. So for example, open, closed, or to be reviewed, or whichever suits your business model. Okay, so that's one thing that you're able to build in your statuses into the form, in your AppBuilder form. The other one is being able to have a closed due date into the form as well. So let's go add that in. We'll go select our date picker. We're just gonna drop it into the box over here. And then I'm just gonna relabel that, and we're not gonna call it date picker, okay? We're gonna rename that, and then we're gonna say closed due date. Okay, and then the beauty of this is that when you scroll down, there's an option that has now appeared here where you can just hit enable close due date. And as we have selected that, did you notice that that box has automatically become mandatory, which is something for your business guidelines would be important. Awesome. And then once you've done that, you can just hit your save button and you'll notice that this automatically will populate into your form already for your users. Now that concludes the App Builder section of the updates. So let's have a look at what the next section is. So I'm just going to come out of the screen, guys. I know we saved it. So the next part of our 20.8 update is to do with visual workflows. So following on from the App Builder designing, the next enhancement complements this very well, and it is to do with visual workflows for apps. So to manage your apps more efficiently, we've upgraded the system tasks for apps in our visual workflows. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, I'm just going to come out of this. Let's navigate over to our workflows area. As standard, you have your buttons on the left-hand side, your workflow instances, your definitions, your triggers, and system tasks. So the newest update comes with the system tasks for apps in our visual workflows. So to create a system task, simply select the system tasks button, your project that you're working in. Right-hand side, you have the configure system tasks. So this one is having the ability, the new update is supports distribution of additional tasks like respond, status change, for action, and any other tasks that you may have configured in your project. So essentially your RFI goes in, you would like the next person, or it might be a health and safety form or inspection checklist. The form goes into the system. You would like the next person to assign a status, or you would like them to distribute it along, or would you like them to respond, or would you like them to have a for action task? So how you set this up is, I'm just going to call this task distribution. Okay, oh, feels like I'm shouting with capital letters. And then task context, we go to app. We select the app type. So for example, these are the forms that we have, the apps we have in this current project. So I'm just going to select the inspection checklist. And then once I've selected the task, these are the options that appear. I'm going to select distribute apps. And then as I go down, I can select the user that I want or particular distribution group. But in this instance, let's send this to Arushan. So we're going to ask Arushan at this point in time, he will only have a for information task. So as we scroll down, we click on the drop down, you have the tasks area. This now gives me the ability to assign a different task to Arushan. So I can ask him to say assign status for this particular form, and then I can help and I create that. Oh, number of days are required. So let's go in. There you go. And then you select the number of dates. As you can see, if something is not completed or you haven't completed a particular field, A-Site does prompt you. So that's good. And then we hit create. So all the system tasks you would have created will now appear in your screen in front of you. Perfect. So another enhancement that we've introduced within our visual workflows for apps is the ability to publish apps to PDF. Okay, what does this mean in real life? You might want to keep a record or copy of all RFIs that you've been put in, and you want them to be in a document or in your files area, and you want it as soon as the files or the form has been closed out, it automatically creates this rule that it automatically goes into an archives folder. So in our situation, if I navigate to the files area, you'll notice I've created a folder in here called archives. Within my archives, I'm able to generate that system task that sends any RFIs that have been closed out or inspection checklists into that folder. So you have to create that. To do that, we go back over to the Workflows tab. We then click on our system task. We select our project, and then top right corner, you've got Configure System Task. Now, I'm going to name this Helps if I take the capital letters off. Publish apps to PDF. You then select the context, which is an app, and then you'll notice the app type. So it asks you which app would you like. So in this instance, let's say the inspection checklist, okay? And then we go and we select our task. At the bottom here, if you look, you've got published apps as PDF. I'm just going to select that. Sorry, apologies. I'm going to select the request for information in this instance. The task we want is the published apps as PDF. It asks you what folder path would you like that to be. So I remember the folder that we're looking at is archives that we want to save this to. Please ensure that these folders do match up with what you have in your folder tree. And then you can notice there's options here to select. Would you like us to include any attachments or any associated documents? So if you have created your RFI or your inspection checklist, there are associations within a site or there are attachments and you want to archive all of that information. Yes, you can just by selecting that. So I'm just going to hit create. Oh, it says already exists. Let's call it one there. There you go. Okay. So that is the ability to enhance and archive all your RFIs or any forms you have. So essentially, if you think about this, once your forms are being closed out, they'll automatically push it and it pushes it into an archive folder. Now, that concludes the updates for any visual workflows with apps. Let's have a look at what the next enhancement was within our 20.8 release. Perfect. Our last enhancement that came as part of our 20.8 release is the Adoddle Field area. So do bear with me while I just get the iPad connected up to my device. So just give me a couple of seconds if that's okay. And again, guys, please remember, as I'm getting all set up, please ask if there's anything within the update that we've gone through that you would like us to, cover a little bit more detail of. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Like magic. Perfect. So this is our Adoddle Field. As you guys can see, I'm now connected to the laptop using my iPad. So you guys can see, and this makes essentially your workload a lot easier when you're out on the move. The last feature to be updated is one of our Adoddle Field area. A-sites are at the heart of improving your efficiency and productivity whilst you're on the move. So let me show you how. One of the things we've improved is our Defects 2.0 version, which is our field and our defects forms, and now in the HTML5 design. Essentially, we're now supporting online and offline working. Okay, what this means for you, let's go over to Adoddle Field. Okay, once we're in Adoddle Field, you are able to make your forms available offline. So if I just go in, I'm just going to select the form that you can see at the top. I have the ability to select the project. As you can see, these are the different projects I have access to. I'm just going to hit done. I have my forms appear over here. So if I go into contracts, there is no form at the moment. But if I go to project forms, I have the ability to see my A-site standard template form, which is that inspection checklist that we have. As you can see at the moment, it's got a little green pin on there. If I unhold that pin, this essentially means I'm just going to mark it off as being available online. If you hold it down, as you can see, there's a pin that appears at the top there, which makes it on and offline. Simply hold down your form and you're able to just generate that pin, and then you mark it as online or offline. Perfect. So once your form is there and it's available, you can just simply select, go into the communications. I'm just going to select my request for information, and I'm going to mark that. Okay, we are connected. Perfect. That's marked as offline. If I wanted to create an RFI in this instance, I'm just going to select my form. As you can see, the green pin has stayed. I click on the plus button. Okay, plus button is now bringing up my RFI. So one of the updates we have had within our 20.8 release is the ability to edit any forms, save drafts, edit the drafts, discard the drafts, and respond in offline working. As you can see, we've marked the form offline. If I go in and I select the form, I can just select it to distribution, document controllers in this case. I'm going to hit close. If I put in a title, so I'm just going to name this one paint color, for example, and then the description will be, please specify color schemes for back walls. Okay, and if you notice on the top right corner there, I have the ability to attach, which means this is going to come from my actual iPad or my device, or the three dots, which means I'm able to associate documents or associate apps. So if I associate documents, okay, I'm just going to select any from the top, the lists that pop up. So I'm just going to select the first two, and then I'm going to hit associate and close. Bottom of my screen, I'm able to see my attachments or associations there. I can save the draft, or if I wanted to, I could send the draft. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys in this instance was to be able to show you once the file has been closed out, or sorry, the RFI has been closed out, of it appearing as part of that system task, which was part of our workflows area. Okay, so let's go over to our RFIs. It shows you any that are open in this instance. So I'm just going to select the RFI in this instance, and I'm just going to close it out so that you guys have the full visibility. As you can see here, I'm going to go in and there you go. Option on the left-hand side, the task, I can reply or I can do it to the distribution to everyone. Perfect, so just bear with me. You can see we've got who it's been sent to, okay, and who the files are. So if I just go in and I reply all in this case, okay, so I'm just going to say, in this case, specify bracket, I'm just going to go dash, 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 and then send that across. Perfect, so you can see the form has now appeared. So I'm just going to switch back over within our screen so you guys can see me closing out the form, the RFI. And then you can see the archive stage of it. So we'll now navigate over to the project forms area. Within our project forms, the RFIs that we have now responded to are here. So if I right click or if I open up the RFI in this case, which is that brackets one, top of the screen here shows me the status, and I'm going to change that status to closed. And I'm just going to put, as discussed, notify all my users in the distribution list, because ideally would have talked about this at a meeting. And we have now closed this RFI. Brilliant, so give it a minute, and I'm just going to go over to my files area. Within my files area, if I go over to the archives folder, remember the system task we've created? The document title is there. If I go over and I open the file, it shows you that RFI that was created and sent back and is in work in progress at the moment and is in our files area. And that's our archive stages. Fabulous. So that is all the updates that we have covered. So I would just pass you over to Lola and Arushan. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please, please do not hesitate to ask any questions in your chat panel on the right. Thank you very much and have a lovely Thursday.
Thank you, Sharline. So we are now ready for the Q&A portion of the webinar with Arushan. Thank you for sending your questions. So I guess we'll start with the first one, which is, can you share a dashboard with an entire project?
Hi, everyone. Right, you can certainly. So similar to how with this release, you can share it with a distribution group. You can also share it to a wider group, and as I said, a project. So let me see if I can show you this. So going back, so in the same place as before, dashboard, tools, manage your dashboards. Let's do the company-wide dashboard. And what you'll see is in the share option, you'll have users, and then you'll have projects. So you can essentially distribute a dashboard across the project itself. Okay, and there's the new enhancement where you can distribute it to distribution groups. Okay, and this of course works similar with filters as well. Okay,
great. So what happens if I start a private conversation in bulk on multiple files and I include a user who does not have access to that file?
Okay, so if you're making a conscious decision to distribute a file in bulk, essentially you're providing them access if they don't have access to it. So you automatically get access as part of that distribution because you're distributing that file to them. So particularly if a document is private, then unless you distribute that file manually or as part of the workflow to that user will not be able to see that those comments or that file itself. So yes, in this case, that new user will then be able to see that file as well as the comments raised.
Okay, great. So how do I get certified on the AppBuilder?
Okay, so in order to get, so AppBuilder is an extension to essentially the rest of the platform. It gives the users or clients an ability to make their own apps and create the workflows associated with those apps themselves. Now, because of the additional skills required and because of the particular ways of working with the actual feature, it does require some training, and so it does involve a training course as well as getting certified once you've passed the training course. So if you do want more details, please contact training@asite.com for more details. Okay.
Okay, I've got another one here. When a system task is used to publish an app as a PDF, does that include attachments?
It does. So when you create, let's have a look. So in the system task, the new system task, which essentially enables you to PDF a form, what you're able to do is at the bottom, you will have an option. So let's see if so here's the one Sharline created earlier. In here, you'll see at the bottom, you'll have an opportunity to include attachments as well as include associated documents within a site. Okay, and then of course, once they're published, then these are then available to view within a site too. Okay, and it's just a means of creating a record once a particular form has been closed. This is particularly useful for things like your invitation to tenders, as well as contracts, as well as RFIs, as Sharline just demonstrated.
Okay, so I think we have just one more here. On Field, can I view my documents offline?
You certainly can. So this has always been a feature. With this new release, you can now view, but as well as edit those forms. But in terms of viewing documents offline, let me see if I can switch to lonely screen. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's have a look. Right. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to select the documents area. And in the documents area, what you're able to do is you're able to sync either entire folders offline or individual files offline. So if you want to sync an entire folder offline, you simply long press the folder and you can tick accordingly. And then in the top right hand corner, you've got a blue pin, which if you select that, you'll see that it's syncing now. So that document, that file folder is now synced to work offline. And similarly, you can do this for individual files. So let me go back. Let's see if I can find individual files. So models, do I have any files in there? Let's have a look. I have archived. Push. Okay. So what you're able to do, long press on that folder or on that file, and you're able to sync those and then select the blue pin at the top. And then now when you go offline, when you're working on site, these documents will then be accessible to you to work. And accordingly, when you do hit Wi-Fi or your internet connection, these will then be synced automatically to the rest of the platform. Okay. Is there any other questions?
So I think that's it for our questions. Thank you.
There is one more.
Okay.
When offline, what do your dots mean? Okay, so when you're offline, what does the dots mean? Let's have a look. So you're referring to the little marks on next to the individual files, I believe. So you can see the pin. So you've got, if you're looking at PN01 and it ends in 0028, what you'll see is you've got the pin, which essentially it indicates whether you're working offline or online with that document, whether it's been synced offline. You've got a little speech mark, which indicates whether you have a comment on that particular file. And then the amber circle indicates whether that document is essentially talking about the task, whether it's overdue, on time, or whether it's imminently required for you to complete. Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's our last question. So thanks for that, Arushan. That will conclude our 20.8 release. A big thank you to Sharline and Arushan and to all of you for joining us. If you do have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact our customer support. And for those of you attending BIM Show Live, our Director of Customer Success, Rich Harrison, and VP Rob Clifton will be delivering presentations on the main stage on Thursday the 27th. So be sure to go over and say hi and find out more about how your organisation can better leverage your use of Adoddle. Thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day.